Welcome to Sightseeing Sprints. Today, we're taking you on an exciting journey through Venice, the city of bridges, canals, and unrivaled beauty. Make sure you stay until the end, otherwise you'll miss out on something really worth knowing. We'll show you 8 of the most impressive sights in this magical city, each with its own unique stories and secrets. So let's explore Venice together. Let's start with one of Venice's most famous landmarks, St. Mark's Basilica. Built in the 11th century, the cathedral is considered a masterpiece of Byzantine architecture. The elaborate facade is decorated with countless mosaics and sculptures. Did you know that some of these mosaics are over 900 years old? The quadriga, the 4 bronze horses on the loggia, were originally made in Constantinople in the 4th century. St. Mark's Basilica was once the private chapel of the Doge of Venice. Legend has it that the bones of St. Mark, which are kept in the cathedral, were smuggled to Venice in a barrel full of pork to hide them from the Muslims. The magnificent Doge's palace is just a few steps away from St. Mark's Basilica. For centuries, the Doge's palace was the center of power in Venice. This is where the Doges, the city's supreme rulers, resided. Its Gothic architecture, especially the intricate facade, is unique in the world. A highlight is the Scala dei Giganti, the staircase of the giants, which is flanked by monumental statues. The famous Casanova was once imprisoned in the dark dungeons of the palace and made a spectacular escape here. The Bridge of Sighs connects the palace with the prison. The name comes from the fact that prisoners took their last look at free Venice from here. Another landmark of Venice is the famous Rialto Bridge. It was completed in 1591 and was the only fixed bridge over the Grand Canal for centuries. The bridge is not only a traffic route, but also houses small shops selling jewelry and souvenirs. The construction of the Rialto Bridge was a true masterpiece of engineering, as it was built in stone where previously there had only been wooden bridges. It is said that the bridge was constructed to be strong enough to carry the weight of hundreds of merchants and goods. Have you ever wondered why it looks so massive? It's because the architect deliberately chose a construction that symbolizes the city's constant trade. Now to the waterway of Venice, the Grand Canal. It winds through the city in a large S shape and is around 4 kilometers long. The Grand Canal was and still is the most important transport artery in Venice. Vaporetto, water taxis, and gondolas travel here today. Over 170 magnificent palaces line its banks, each with a fascinating history. Particularly impressive is the Ca' d'Oro, the Golden Palace, so called because of its gold-decorated facade. Did you know that the Grand Canal is the setting for a historic regatta competition once a year? A real spectacle. Venice is not just made up of the main island. One of the most famous neighboring islands is Murano. Murano is world famous for its centuries-old glass-making tradition. As early as the 13th century, glass production was moved here for safety reasons in order to avoid fires in Venice. The masterpieces made of Murano glass became one of Venice's most important exports in the Middle Ages. A visit to the glass-blowing workshops of Murano is almost like traveling back in time. The techniques have hardly changed. There is even a glass museum that shows the history of Venetian glass production. The colorful island of Burano is another highlight. The island's colorful houses make Burano one of the most photogenic places in Venice. There is a legend that the fishermen painted their houses so brightly so that they could find their way home more easily in foggy weather. Burano is also known for its fine lace, a tradition that dates back to the 16th century. In the Chiesa di San Martino, you can admire a rare painting by the famous Venetian painter Giovanni Battista Tiepolo. Burano is the perfect place to escape the hectic tourist crowds and enjoy the relaxed life of the lagoon. For art lovers, a visit to the Peggy Guggenheim collection is a must. This museum houses one of the most important collections of modern art in Italy. Peggy Guggenheim, the famous art collector, lived here until her death in 1979. Her collection includes works by artists such as Picasso, Pollock, and Dali. The museum is located in the Palazzo Venier dei Leoni, directly on the Grand Canal, an unfinished building that was originally intended to be much taller. Fun fact, Peggy Guggenheim's dogs are buried in her garden, next to her own gravesite. Finally, a cultural jewel, the Teatro La Fenice. This opera house is one of the most famous in the world and is a symbol of Venice's cultural prosperity. The name La Fenice means the phoenix. Fitting, as the theater was rebuilt several times after fires. Many famous operas by Verdi and Rossini were premiered here. The current building was reconstructed after a devastating fire in 1996 and reopened in 2003. A visit to a performance in this magnificent opera house is an unforgettable experience and brings Venice's glorious past to life. And that was our tour of the fascinating sights of Venice. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. Remember to subscribe to the Sightseeing Sprints channel and activate the bell so that you don't miss any of our future tours. In the video description, you will also find a link to book a trip to Venice directly. Now, you have the choice. Then, click here on one of the 2 videos that are currently displayed. Thank you for your interest. See you next time on Sightseeing Sprints.